This week we're going to be studying section 1.1, which is all about graphing. Underneath your lecture notes you'll find three separate files. Two of them are the lecture notes. If you have any problems printing out the TIFF file, save it to your hard drive first and then print it and see if you can get it that way. The other file that's there is a JPEG file, and it's a file that has a graph on it. You can use that and print it out to do your problems. If you want to, you can buy graph paper, but there's no need to. You can use that. The other thing that you can do is Google free graph paper on the internet, and you'll find all kinds of sources of free graph paper. So there is no need to buy graph paper to do the problems. As I said, we're going to look at graphing this week. Basically what graphs do is provide us a means of displaying data in a visual format. There are many different types, such as bar charts, line graphs, which is going to be our focus, circle graphs, or pie charts. All three of these are good examples of something that would make a good concept application if you wanted to take a look at any of those. Particularly circle graphs are used a lot in finance, your 401k plans. Typically we'll have a breakdown of how your assets are allocated. So these would be a very good source for a concept application. If we took a look at data such as average temperature, and we see these months listed here with a number after them, it's kind of hard to take a look at that number and make sense of them. We've got to look at them kind of one at a time and read them through, and it doesn't mean a whole lot to us. However, if we look down at the bottom of this page, we see three different graphs. We see temperature expressed as a line chart, we see it expressed as a bar chart, and we see it expressed as a pie chart. The pie chart for temperature really doesn't make too much sense. The other two are probably not a bad illustration, though, of temperature. But if we look at the top two charts, what is bad about those charts is they're not labeled adequately. We have 1 through 11 labeled down there. We're assuming that those are probably months 1 through 11, but where's 12? And going up the left-hand side, we have 0 to 100. We don't know if we're talking about Celsius or Fahrenheit. So it's a very poor graph as we have it labeled. The one on the right, where it's the temperature in the bar chart, doesn't even have them labeled. So we're going to assume that it's January, February, March, and so on. When you make a chart, make sure that all the information is there, that your axes are labeled so that you clearly know what each one is expressing, and that somebody who doesn't know anything about it can pick that up and take a look at it. The other thing that you might want to consider when you're doing charts is that a lot of people are really colorblind. So when you express one of your charts, is somebody who's colorblind going to be able to pick up on your example, like on the pie chart at the bottom, where we have the different colors down there and it's labeled the different months? So you might want to think about who your audience is when you're displaying your data. All of these graphs, though, what they do is they show the relationship between two variables, temperature and month. To create line graphs, we're going to use two intersecting lines. Previously, we graphed using just the horizontal axis. Now we're going to be graphing using two axes. X is going to be called the horizontal axis, and the vertical axis is going to be called our y-axis. They intersect at the point which is called 0, 0. The name for this is sometimes called a rectangular coordinate system. I typically just call it an XY axis. The main components of it are the x-axis, which is the horizontal, the y-axis, which is the vertical, the up and down one, and the origin, which I mentioned, is the intersection of those two lines. It's also called the point 0, 0. An ordered pair with a parentheses x comma y represents a point of the system. X is equal to the x value, the horizontal value. Y is the y value, which is the vertical value. Other names for x are the first coordinate, or the abscissa, Y is also called the second coordinate or the ordinate. I will typically just call them the x and y values. The thing about this is it is an ordered pair. It does have an order. The x must be first, the y must be second. So when we take a look at these, keep in mind again that the x is going to represent the horizontal value and the y is going to represent the up and down value. As we look at this again, you might want to make sure that you have your lecture notes handy so that you can read along with it. If we want to graph a point in this system, we have our x-axis labeled and we have our y-axis labeled. For the x-axis, numbers to the right of 0 are positive, just like it was when we were graphing the first night of class. Numbers to the left of 0 are negative. For the y-axis, numbers going above 0 and going up are positive. Numbers below 0 going down are negative. And that's very intuitive. We think of the up direction as being positive and going down as being negative. If we want to graph this point up here, 3, 2, and we didn't exactly know where it is, what we would do is remember that the x value is first, so x is a 3. The y value is second, so y is a 2. The words are down below on your this same page, but I'm just going to use this for illustration right here. So to graph the point 3, 2, what you do is you start at the origin, the 0, 0 point. You do the x value first, so you go to the right 1, 2, 3 points. You're done with the x value, then you need to graph the y value. The y value is 2, it's positive, so you're going to go up 2 units. You stay where you are, which is on the x-axis at the point 3, and go straight up from there 2 units. So this point is a unique point on that system, the point 3, 2. If we want to graph negative 3, negative 2, we do essentially the same process. We go back to the 0, 0 point. Our x value is negative 3. Negative is to the left of the 0, so we go left 1, 2, 3 units. Then we look at our y value, which is negative 2. Negative 2 means we go down. We stay right where we are on that point, the negative 3, and go 2 units straight down from there. This point that we see here is the unique point, negative 3, negative 2. As we look at our xy axis again, we see 4 points that are here. They're not labeled, but we can figure out what each one of these 4 dots represents. We do that by going to the 0, 0 point, and we see that we have to go to the right 1 unit, and we go up 1 unit. So this point is the point 1, 1. They're both positive values. So all of the points that are in this quadrant are all going to have positive x's and positive y's. We go back to the 0, 0 point. To get to the point that's in the upper left, we go to the left 1 unit, so that's a negative direction, and we go up 1, so y is positive. This point that we see right here is the point negative 1, 1. All of the points that are in this quadrant have a negative x value and a positive y value. Again, let's go back to the 0, 0 point. We go left 1 and we go down 1. So that means both the x and y values are negative. So this point is negative 1, negative 1. All of the points that are in this quadrant are negative for the x values and the y value. Again, we go back to the 0, 0 point. We go right 1 unit, which is positive, and we go down 1 unit, which is negative. So the x is positive 1, the y is negative 1. So this point is 1, negative 1. What I'd like you to do now is, on the coordinate system that we have up here, or if you'd like to take another piece of graph paper, plot these 4 points. The answers are down below, so you can check your answers. When you finish doing this work, then you want to go ahead and continue on the next section, and we'll stop at this point and continue on the next section.